Okay, welcome to Watercolor Studio 42. Coming up, let's see, February 14th is St. Valentine's Day, and I thought I'd cook up something that would be relative to that particular subject. And of course, we always think of the Cupid with the bow and arrow, and he shoots the arrow and hits the target, I guess, of the sweetheart, so to speak. And but I'm not too familiar with the Cupid, so I was thinking of something that might be more like a city or a town or something made up of heart shapes. And there used to be, I think, a grocery chain called Heartland. Goes back a few years. I don't know whatever happened to them. My wife says probably somebody bought them out, whatever it was. But nevertheless, Heartland. So I said, Heartland, yeah. Why don't we have maybe like a little town made up of heart shapes? And sometimes you've seen probably pictures of these little villages where they're sort of on the side of a hill. I think I saw a picture or a photograph somewhere of an Italian village that was located on the side of a hill, and kind of, you don't notice the streets because the houses are kind of crowded in there somewhere, but there must be sidewalks and streets in between all of that on the side of the hill. So what I thought I'd do, I'd put in the landscape today and make it sort of like a little bit like hilly. Okay, so here's some hill way back there coming down. Then you've got another landform, or I should say ground, here somewhere near the middle. Maybe we got something like a bump that we could put across here. So what we're going to do is locate all of these little heart-shaped houses and whatnot on this within this particular area. Now, you could do it different ways, but I took some paper I had, a little heavier paper. Really, it's watercolor paper, and what I did was cut out on the folded edge just half the shape of a heart. So, and different sizes and so forth, and thicknesses and whatnot. So I did a few of these, and you can use this and just fill it in like you would, filling in a stencil type of idea. Or you could take and trace the shape and then paint it in kind of freehand. So now, if I could imagine these shapes as being like buildings or houses, then probably you wouldn't put them on the point. Maybe let's tip them upside down and maybe put them down on the paper this way, upside down, and locate these little houses. Now, if it's a smaller building, you might put that more or less in the background. Let's locate it up here somewhere. And you don't have to put in all of the building, but you might want to show it setting at least on the ground. Now this is called, this would be tracing, called tracing. And you trace around the shape with a pencil or a pen or a marker and set these little shapes up there somewhere. Put another one over here. Now another thing you can do is you can just leave this pattern right down on the table, and you can just paint it in. Now, that I just left part of a shape here. Maybe I should finish it off here. All right, come down this side. All right, let's see, let's go around here. There you go, something like that. And then we've got some other shapes. Like if it appears to be a larger building, you can put that down on the lower level here. And let's see if we can trace around that particular shape. There we go. Okay, you get that in there. Now, maybe something else up here in this middle area. Let's see what I've got on this pattern here. Let's put a different shape up in here. Something like this. This kind of acts like it sort of centers everything a little bit more. You could put parts of shapes. You don't have to put the whole shape in. Let's say if I wanted to show just half a heart, so to speak, you could just trace around this part here. Just go around here, oops, over here. There you go. Put that in something like that. And we could put something kind of in between all of that. Maybe this shape here would be a good location, offset it a little bit from the others. And we'll put another little building somewhere in here. Okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's put something else up in here. Let's put another shape, gets this out of the way here. All right, and put something over here. All right, and wherever. You could put something in between all of this if you want and rearrange it. How many shapes you want to put in here? You could put in part of a shape. Looks like a little teepee in there, okay? And now all these shapes I'm putting in, they represent like hot houses, okay? Okay. All right, hot houses, wow. Here we go. There we go. Yep, so there used to be a Heartland, like I said, it was a chain store, and somewhere, seems like it was down around Swansea or somewhere in that area, just off of maybe 44, Route 6, probably in that area. But like I said, we used to go there quite often when I was younger, and then all of a sudden that particular store went out of business. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 shapes in there. You can add as many things as you want. You can add on to this, you can put windows and doors and whatever you want to do with it a little bit later. Now, another thing we could put in here would be some trees. And do I have a shape that might be more like a tree? Maybe. No, well, they all look like trees, don't they? We can put a few shapes in between them. Now, if they're going to be a tree, I'm just going to just put a little bit of a trunk on the bottom so I don't confuse the tree with a house, okay? Let's put another tree down in here somewhere. And that's going to have a trunk. We'll put a trunk on it like that. Another tree up in here, how's that going? It kind of fills in that empty space too, doesn't it? Yeah, something like that. Maybe something over in here. Oh, over here better. Let's see. Well, now let's change the shape of that tree so it fits. Here we go. Well, we'll just put part of the tree in there. How's that? Make it fit. Yeah, there we go. Now, what else? Something else up in here, maybe? Now, I used to do a couple of these things where I used to make a carriage that was made up of heart shapes, and almost like from Cinderella. Remember the coach there? That was very decorative in that particular show. All right, now we got some trees. We don't want, I don't know if I want all of these to be houses. So we'll make that a tree. Let's see, moving around here a little bit. Doesn't look too bad. All right. Now, you may find that you want to add something else a little bit later. Now, I was tracing these little heart shapes. You know, you can make a little pattern similar to this idea. But you could do this freehand, you know, very easily. You could make shapes kind of freehand. It doesn't have to be this way using but sometimes I use the stencil if I'm going to be just putting the stencil down and filling it in with a marker or with you know, watercolor paint or whatever with the brush and whatnot. Now let's see what we could do. Now, generally speaking, most of these shapes, I'm going to put a little path going up there. Most of these little heart shapes are always red. You know, the chocolate boxes and all that you see in the stores and whatnot. Now, I usually red, different colors, maybe pinks and so forth. But being a village of Heartland or Heart Place or whatever, you can use different colors. So having said that, I'm going to start off, and we'll use a little bit of, I usually start with some of my brighter colors. I do want, sometimes yellow is fine, but the only trouble is if you're going to leave the white background a little bit white, then you might want to use something a little deeper than deeper brown. So I use this raw sienna color. I think I have that. Yeah, I have that on the plate. So let's start off, and I'm just going to paint in some of these little shapes. And I'm going to try to find a brush that, you know, I think might work for me. Let's try this one. Let's start with the raw sienna. And what I usually do is I just paint around the contour like this. I go around the pencil mark or the whatever marker you use. I just go around it like that. I'll outline what I've done with a marker or pencil, and then just take and fill it in. Just fill it in, similar to this idea. Just fill that shape right in. Okay. Now I can come across, and I can decide what other shapes I want to have that color. Now, let's make this little one up here, this color. The color, outline it like that, go around the inside, and then just fill it in. Okay, there you go. Just fill it in. I got to put a little bit more water on my brush here. Get this filled in. Here we go, just around here. All right. Don't have to be too fussy with it, but I try to stay inside the line somewhat, you know, but when you paint. Now, I've used this 2 times. We could probably do something else down here. Why don't we just, why don't we just do this one here, this big shape. We'll fill this right in. Now, when you go over a line like I did here with my tracing, you don't have to make this whole shape the same color. I'm using this raw sienna right now, but you don't have to fill everything in with the raw sienna because houses sometimes have 2 different shades. Okay. So I'm just gonna do this part. I went over this so I can kind of fill that in down in here. Here we go. But I'm just going to do a little bit more with this. I'm going to keep that a little bit lighter there and put some more coloring into that. Now, I think, for now, I think that's all right. Now, what I'm going to do next is, I don't know if I have to bother too much clean my brush because I'm going to go to orange anyway. But then I can decide which one I want to paint a little bit more of an orange color. Okay. I was thinking about the trees. I said, you know, there are red maples, so I could fill in some of the trees. They don't always have to be green either. Let's just fill this in with a little bit of the orange. Okay. Add a little bit more color and perk it up a little bit more. Come around here. There we go. Fill that side in. Now you can have different, like I said, you can vary the shade. With watercolor, if you want to lighten it up a bit, all you have to do is put more water in and less paint. That's all. Just dilute it down with water, and you can make, you know, the color a little bit different shade. Okay, so there's orange. How about an orange up here in here? Pulling up a little bit of orange in here. Outline the shape you have. I didn't do a good job on this one. A little bit in a hurry. Sort of going to look like an upside down carrot here with the color. Okay, something like that. There's 1, 2. We'll see. Oh, let's make this one here orange. Go around it. All right. Come down the side around here. Okay, fill that in. There you go. Yeah, something like that. Now, we got to get some red in there, haven't we? My gosh, I was talking about heart shapes. They're mostly all red that you see in the stores, in the candy boxes. So we got to have a red heart, or a red house here, whatever. So we come around here and fill that right in. And go right around the corner here. Fill that right in, right up to the tape. Okay. See if I can get that out there. All right, looks like it's got a little bit of highlight there. Get that curve, go around the corner a little better. That's a little better. You got that one. Let's introduce red, maybe another red up in here. This could be a different shade of red. I'll use a little deeper color for that one. Okay, right around here. I'm not getting enough water on my brush here. Come around this way. See if I can get that to fill in a little better. Now that one can be a little bit lighter. It can be watered down a bit, so it's more of a pinkish color, not so much of a darker red. Go around the shape here a little bit better. And come down this side over here. Okay. Sometimes I purposely I leave a little bit of a darker highlight inside of the shape so it doesn't look quite as flat. There we go. Now, normally the trees would be, I guess, green, but we don't have to make them green if we don't want to. You could make them any color you want. Well, I started to make that a tree. I put a little stem on it, but suggestive of a trunk. But we can make that another. Could be another house up in there. We can always add more to this if we want to. Whatever you want to do with it. Now, let's do some of the trees. Now, as I was saying before, trees normally, they might be a little bit on the green side, but we can make them different colors. You could start off, you know, make this one a blue tree. You could put something else over here, make this another, maybe over here, blue. There we go. Make it a little darker. Just go around that shape. There we go. Get a little bit more of a shape to it. Yeah, not bad. Looks like this one could be a little bit wider in here. All right, fill that in. And then, let's see, we could put another one down here. Oh, I got a lot of water on my brush here. We could take some of that water off the brush here. All right, come around the corner here. There we go. You want to point, just lift up on the brush and bring it out to more of a point. This one here, I'm just going to clean up a little bit. Okay, now we've got, what color haven't I used? Well, I don't want to make it black either. Well, let's take a little bit of blue. Take a little bit of that raw sienna. I don't know, it looks brown to me, so I don't know how that's going to come out. I was trying to make green, you know, but you really need a stronger yellow with the blue. This is going to look sort of like more of a darker brown. But that's okay. We'll just put a little bit more. Let's make this one, whoops. A little bit more water on the brush here. This can be a little bit lighter. Fill that in. Okay, there you go. And that looks kind of greenish, a little bit. And we'll just finish off in here. Okay. Now, this almost makes me think of yellow bulbs, colored bulbs on a tree, and the ground looks like it's like the wire connecting the bulbs together. Okay. Let's finish that off a little bit. Let's bring this around in here. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now, this is up to you how much you want to do with it, but it's supposed to be like a village. And so, having said that, I can leave this the way it is, the color. It could be snow because it's still in February, Valentine's Day. And then, but the background, we could take a little bit of a larger brush here. And I'm just going to take a little bit more of that blue. Put some blue on that. Make a lighter shade. And maybe up in here we could make this like maybe some sky. This part up in here could be like a background. Okay, just so it's not like white, white, white all around everything. We could just add some blue to it. Could be so it still could be snow, but we're just putting a little bit more shadow into the, oh boy, that's pretty dark. Let's soften that out, pull that around. It still could be snow. Background. And let's bring it over here. Okay. Now, I haven't forgot the idea that some of these things are trees and some things are maybe could be little houses. But we'll just fill in a little bit of the background so it doesn't look so much white. Let some of the white show through, but we can fill in the background with more color. Okay, let's come around here. A little bit over here. All right, there we go. Now sometimes I wet the paper first. You can put water down. You can just wet the paper with water. And sometimes the paint will slide around a little bit easier that way. So when you take a little bit of the blue color and you drop it into the wet, you know, it just spreads around faster, a little bit easier. If you want to add water to the paper first, just go up into there, whatever. So now, well, let's just, I'm trying to let that dry out a little bit more. Okay. Let's put a little bit more ground in here, a little bit more of the blue. You want to make sure you go to the edge anyways, so that when you pull the tape off, you get a white, sort of a white imitation border, you know, like if you put a mat on it, put a mat around it. Okay, now let's fill this in. Okay, now right now, doesn't look too bad. It makes me like I said, it makes me think of bulbs on a Christmas tree, you know, the wire. So what we could do here is you could start, I think it's dry enough, maybe in places, but you could put in some of the detail. Now, houses do have chimneys, so you could have a chimney coming out of these things. Different shapes, sizes. Maybe I could fill that in a little bit more. There you go. You can have that show up a little bit more. A little chimney over there here. Okay. Fill in a little bit in the inside there. Yeah. Okay. Another house. Maybe a chimney. Now, some of these places can have like something around the outside. I was thinking of putting people in there. What kind of little people would you have? Little bugs or whatever, you know? you could put little cars in there or whatever you want to do. Now, we need some windows, right? Let's put some windows in. Okay, maybe a door. Let me put a door down here somewhere. Okay, you got a door on that one. Window, window, window. This could have some windows downstairs too. Okay, now they're starting to look a little bit more like houses, maybe. All right, maybe a door in here. There we go. Okay. Now, these are going to be the ones that are like that. Let's put some trunks on them. They could be trees. There you go. All right, that could be another house here. All right, put a door. Door in here. They've got kind of a little village. Now you could have, you could draw some little cars in, or you could put them in by putting a half of a heart shape, and you can make them look like little cars. So you just put on that line, just put some little, like little cars with half the heart shape. This one here, I put a walk. I had a little walk coming down from the house. It sort of makes it look, you think of a tree though, in a way, because I did the trunks. Whatever. Trees, everybody have a trunk that's a tree. All right. I guess we could, I don't know if that's going to show up, but we'll put something in there. Now this is a house, so it could have a funny looking chimney coming out. And what else? Well, this could have a walk also. Now, I don't know about people. You could put like little stick figures in there if you want to make people. Just put little lines in it. Hey, it looks like people. Okay. All right. Yeah, something like that. And what else could we add to this? I'm trying to think of different things we could put on in the picture. Now, if you wanted to put, well, it's winter time, I don't know if it would be, well, I suppose you could have a couple of birds flying around, put something like that in there. Whatever you can imagine what you'd want to put in the picture. So that's that. And things like that. So that would be sort of like similar to a Heartland. What else you'd add to the picture? You could do all sorts of different things. You could show some of the contours, you know, maybe put some outline around the trees, something like this. If you want them to show up a little bit more. Here we go, put a little outline around the tree. Okay. I guess that could be a tree, yeah. There we go. Something like that. Put a little bit of the roof on the house. Something like that. So you can kind of decorate it up a little bit more. So that would just give you an idea. Now, that's one thing you could do, okay? Now, I'm just going to pull the tape if I can. get some of that tape off of here. And that will bring out a little bit of the contour, the sort of like the mat around it. There we go. If I can get the tape up. Okay. There we go. And now, I don't know if this makes you think of Heartland or not. But anyway. So that's that one. Now, some of the other things that you may want to try, I'm going to just turn this one over on the back for a few seconds. But remember what I said earlier? You could take, these can be used as a stencil. So sometimes if you want to make a particular design, I'm just going to use some of my my red. Let's see if I can get some of this red in here. Now, all you have to do now is just hold the stencil down so it doesn't wiggle around, and you could fill that in, lift it off careful. Now, relocate it over here, and again, take some of your paint, whatever color you're going to use. I'm using some of the red here, making it lighter so it's a sort of a pink color. And see how you can move around on this and make a pattern. Let's add a little bit more color into it. Okay. So these now are being used like you would a stencil. Okay, you just line it up over here and fill it in. Whoop, hold it down so the paint doesn't get too much underneath there. If paint gets underneath, it kind of loses its shape. And you kind of lose the idea of using a stencil to begin with. Okay. Now you've got something like that. Now you can add more petals into this if you want it to be like a flower. And I'm just going to make that a little bit darker. Give it a little bit more contrast in there. Now, the more spontaneous you are with this, probably it might be a little bit better when you work on it. You'd be a little bit more spontaneous with it. But you don't want to get the paint too much underneath the idea is a stencil. Okay, all right. Put this in here. Now, once you start getting good at this, you can do all sorts of things. And I can use this particular shape for whatever. You can make a windmill, anything that would have like a propeller. Now, that's a little bit darker. Now, having said that, that's okay, because I can come back and reuse that same shade again. I'm using some of this I have left over up here. And make that like a different type colored petal. Now, you could do all sorts of things with this. You could paint a stem on it, or let's see if I can find. Maybe I could use this shape here. Maybe that might work better. Let's try this one. Now, if you want, you could take this, use that shape upside down, and whatever color you want it to be, I'll just use a sort of a darker blue. And you can make this like a vase. Fill this in here, over here. You could go outside the stencil, but not too much underneath it. Might lose some of its shape otherwise. So that could be like a vase. Now, if you want this to be filled in, it looks kind of funny, you could just fill that in and leave it somewhat flat across the bottom like that. Just fill it in down to here. Yeah. Fill that right in. And you use your stencil for a vase. Now, there's a lot more you could do with this. Let's see, I'm just going to finish this off. Okay. Just make it a little flat across the bottom. All right. Now, if that doesn't show up enough, you can always do a lot more to it. If you want this to be a little bit more noticeable, put your stencil back on. Use the stencil you had, and let's say, for example, the color's a little bit on the weak side. Just put your stencil back, and you can add a little darker shade to the whole thing. Go right over it again, fill it in on the inside, and you can make the shape show up quite a bit darker. You see how that works. And you can do a lot of different things with it. So take some orange, put a little center in there. It's sort of a strange looking flower, but nevertheless. Okay, that can be kind of erased a little bit and change that. You could also freehand. You could paint in freehand and put anything else you want to add to this in there. You know, just paint it in, and you don't have to use the stencil. You get pretty good at it after a while, and you probably could do the whole thing without having to use the stencil. Okay, but it just gives you an idea how you can use the stencils for making other things other than, you know, maybe houses or whatever it might be. So anyhow, so that's pretty much what we have here. And whatever you want to add to this, I gave it a little bit more time to dry out. So you can come back in and remember I said these could be little cars or automobiles. You could probably paint some of this in like that. Fill some of those in. You don't want to have the same colored automobiles. You can make some a different color, you know. You could paint them in freehand. Whatever you want. Add to the picture. Okay, there you go. Now, see what we got here. Kind of interesting. That's getting kind of busy. All right. So anyhow. So those are a couple of ideas that I've tossed out, and so you could kind of work at it. You could take all of this if you want, and cut out your own particular stencil, and just do, you know, a picture. using the stencil itself, whatever it might happen to be. Okay? So anyways, so I'm finishing up quite a bit ahead of time today. I didn't know that it would not take that long to work on, so I'm going to kind of pack up a little bit and say so long, and we'll see you next time, okay?